The Milwaukee Mile is back. Let's go!
Green.
And it's McLaughlin with the early jump. Malukas tucked in at second. That was further back.
Here comes Linus Lundqvist going way high on David Malukas to try to take second place. Some tire smoke as they go 3 wide further behind.
Almost certainly contact mid-pack there as Pato O'Ward tries to take a look, and they're 3 wide. Rinus VK down the inside as Joseph Newgard in the blue and white car trying to find his way through.
That's Connor Daly running it way up high in the JHR machine, trying to make some moves early. Joseph Newgard got better of it, got out of that third lane, tucked in line as we see Herta now making moves on the outside.
And Linus Lundqvist jumped up to second, right behind the red and white Odyssey battery car of Scott McLaughlin.
But Colton Herta on the move. The Gamebridge driver, that white, black, and yellow car is pushing along with Connor Daly. The track is perfectly clean right now. He's up 11 spots in 4 laps.
For the Honda, the number 8, Linus Lundqvist down low, trying to make it stick here. He's got the clean air, and look, all boxed in is McLaughlin from Kevin Simpson, and there is a pass for the lead.
Race leader Linus Lundqvist in. They asked him, do you want any changes? He said no front wing, but they were slow on the right rear. That'll cost the 8 some time.
Okay, so Lundqvist out of the pits, and Scott McLaughlin has retaken the point there.
Those that came in earlier, the undercut as we call it, works. So Pato O'Ward is leading Colton Herta.
We have a caution.
On the backstretch.
Looks like Catherine Legg off of 2.
All right, time to go again. Scott McLaughlin in front, Stingray Robbins second. Then we'll keep an eye on Herta, O'Ward, Rossi, and some fast cars coming.
Down there.
Marcus Armstrong trying to unlap himself. He got unlucky with that yellow. Perfectly clean racetrack, though, by virtue of the sweepers, James, and they're stacking wide.
We saw some big moves on the initial start. Connor Daly, one of them. You see Grosjean there looking to the inside, not quite close enough to make it happen. Look at that, Ferrucci all the way up in lane 3. He's going to chew up Rossi here.
Championship leader Alex Blow went high, now low, a little further up. It's Rossi and Ferrucci side by side. Ferrucci going to try to send it around the outside. And he will.
The Phoenix is rising through the field there as Colton Herta looks to make a move on Marcus Armstrong. Herta checked up big time. This will give O'Ward a really good shot. Easy breezy.
O'Ward is going to use the traffic in front of Marcus Armstrong. Herta's not quite ready to give it up. O'Ward is through for seconds.
Everybody very nervous as O'Ward is making the move.
Side by side, Pato O'Ward has moved in front of Scott McLaughlin to take the lead in Milwaukee. Side by side, Ericsson and Newgarden come together, and both are in the wall.
They didn't give us any room there.
That sounds like conflicting stories. So wheel to wheel, everybody knows where everybody is. I mean, Ericsson's on the second lane. He didn't really come up. Let's see this view.
Well, they can put it on the 28
still outside,
all they want.
Still outside, just run him in. Still outside, still there.
But they're
still
both
there.
done for the day.
Here we go again from the Milwaukee Mile. Good start from Pato O'Ward. Here goes Palou getting around some traffic.
Palou wastes no time. McLaughlin side by side with Ferrucci, though.
Will Power moved up in front of Ferrucci. Ferrucci had a great run of momentum, and now that's checked everybody up. Look at the teammate. Oh, no, that's VK on the inside of Grosjean.
Rinus VK is up to 6th. That's up 3 spots.
Up to 5th
on the
now.
Restart. He's up 8 since the start of the race. VK going forward.
Pato O'Ward is making what should be his final stop. Never know, though, if there's a late caution. If anybody has fresh Firestones, would anyone in the lead group come
in? And the caution's out. The caution has come out.
A loose wheel for somebody.
Oh,
26
no.
of Colton Herta again with another great chance for a strong oval result. If not his first oval win, he'll have to come in.
Back to green at the Milwaukee Mile.
Saw some side-by-side action almost before we got to start-finish line. It's Palou that I'm looking at. He makes a move, and in front, Connor Daly up high on Lundgaard. Going to keep his foot in the throttle, try to get Lundqvist. Well, he's at it. He's got the momentum.
Here comes Connor Daly up to 4th on the backstretch. What's going on here with Kyle Kirkwood? There's Grosjean at the inside. And it's just a big squeeze with 3 wide. That is a miracle that Kyle Kirkwood hung on to that thing.
You heard him on the radio. Oh, my God. He can't believe it.
Here comes Will Power on Ferrucci. Looks to the inside.
Trying to get to second. Power.
Oh,
They just about touched. Maybe they did, but Power is through. And Ferrucci charges on, but Connor Daly is going to pounce. And Connor Daly has moved up to third. Championship may not be in play for Potter Award this year, but he's going to join Will Power as a three-time winner in 2024. Potter Award has won at the Milwaukee Mile.
Up next, it's the Hy-Vee Milwaukee Mile 250 Race 2, Sunday, September 1st. Watch it at 2:30 on USA Network.
They always do here on a regular basis. Josh is here and Michael is here as well. Thank you to both of them for joining us as they always do, like I said, to every Tuesday evening around this time. And what a lot I think that we have to digest and go through. Obviously, we had two races this past weekend, obviously at the famous Milwaukee Mile. Absolutely loved it. I thought the racing was fantastic, obviously, because it was an oval and it wasn't a street or road course, because you know how I feel about those. But definitely a lot to digest, a lot to break down, analyze, and go through here as the show unfolds. Obviously, as well, we will review both race 1 and race 2 on Saturday and Sunday. I will give a little spoiler that our race picks, the standings have gotten just a little bit tighter here with one race to go in Nashville in 2 weeks' time. And then obviously we'll be joined here later in the hour by Mike to talk about the betting portion of the Milwaukee doubleheader last week, and hopefully he was able to cash in. I can tell you my pick did not two disappointing endings, but you know what though? As somebody once said, I still have a chance. You're still saying there is a chance, and you'll see that here later in the show. But before we get into all of that, I do need to bring in both of the other gentlemen that join me, like I said, here on a week in and week out basis. First, Michael's here. I know he's got a lot to discuss, especially when it comes to race number 2. But before we get to that, Michael, how are things? Have you been? How have things been for you? There we go. Over there in your neck of the woods.
Well, we did get some relief from the heat, which is nice. We had a nice holiday weekend, and I've played 2 rounds of golf in the past 2 days, so doing pretty well over here.
In mid-sip, and I'll just leave it at that. Josh is here with us as well, and I'm sure with the nice weather that has graced us here in central Indiana in the beginning of September, believe it or not, 70 degrees in the beginning of September. I'm sure Josh has gotten out and hitting the links there as well.
Yeah, I hit. I was out on Friday, Winding Ridge, out on the northeast side. It was a beautiful day. I got to play with my uncle and a good friend of mine. Playing tomorrow. Got my league tomorrow, so that'll be fun. Can't wait. Other than that, had a good weekend. Watched these tremendous 2 races. You know, one couldn't be more different than the other in how they turned out, but and all the chaos. But it was a good week. It was a good weekend on both the track and in the gridiron.
Yeah, absolutely. Definitely have another show that we want to build on from season 1, and we'll get that up here shortly. But we will talk about racing. That's what we do here. And Josh, great lead in to what you were to have. Like I said, we did have a doubleheader this past weekend at the Milwaukee Mile for the Hy-Vee, which hat tip to them. The tremendous have put into the NTT IndyCar Series, not only doing the doubleheader at Iowa earlier in the year in July, but putting on again another coming back to the Milwaukee Mile. For people that didn't know, it's been about 10 years or so since the NTT IndyCar Series made a lap there in Milwaukee, so that was great to see. Race number one, like I said, took place there on Saturday, and obviously, huge congratulations right off the bat. As you see right there, you're going to see both race winners, but huge congratulations obviously goes to Pato Award and the whole number 5 Arrow McLaren Chevrolet crew as they were able to collect their third win of this 2024 season. Yes, I know one of them has a asterisk beside it. But if you remember, and I don't know if either one of you two have watched season 2 of 100 Days to Indy, but I found it interesting, the few episodes that I've got to catch so far. Pato Award made it a point that Arrow McLaren, obviously a disappointing 2023, becoming winless or being winless in 2023. He made it a point to note that Arrow McLaren's team goal for 2024 was to win more races. Obviously, well, they can add another trophy to their trophy case there. As you see, as I mentioned, Award, who did go winless in 2023 in the number 5 Arrow McLaren Chevrolet, took the lead on lap 195 and did not look back. He also led a total of 133 laps, like I said, to collect his series tying lead of 3 victories this year, his 7th career victory at Saturday night's Hy-Vee Milwaukee 250 race 1, beating Will Power, who had a interesting weekend, so to say, especially on Sunday, which we'll talk about more in race number 2, beating Will Power in that number 12 Verizon Business Team Penske Chevrolet by just under 2 seconds at 1.8215. Talking about Power first and foremost, he did enter Saturday's race down just 54 points. He was behind the 2-time series champion and current points leader, Alex Palou. Power was able to trim that margin to 43 points going into Sunday, with Power finishing P2 and leading 9 laps, while Alex Palou, another roller coaster weekend for him. And we'll talk about that here shortly as well, in the number 10 DHL Chip Ganassi Racing Honda, finishing P5. And again, he is the points leader with just one round left to go. He is seeking his 3rd championship in 4 years. Also, something that I know Michael talked a lot about last week, and I know Josh made the comment that following the show on Tuesday, and I don't know if there's any correlation between the two, but one of the IndyCar radio announcers was speaking about the following day about how important the IndyCar's final leader circle contracts are. And for people that don't know what that is, it's guaranteed prize money contracts of basically $910,000. It only goes to the top 22 IndyCar entries in points. So what a day on Saturday night for Juncos Hollinger Racing, as their driver, Connor Daly from Noblesville, Indiana, in the number 78 Chevrolet, was able to make 51 on-track passes, which was the most of any driver in a race this season, to come home a P3 finisher. And that was Daly's best career finish since Detroit in June of 2016, where he finished P2. And I'm sure, Michael can talk a little bit more of that, how big that is for Juncos Hollinger and that number 78 machine in those final leader circle contract point standings. Also, too, I thought someone that had a great weekend as well. He rounded out the top 5 on Saturday was Santino Ferrucci in the number 14 Phoenix Investors Chevrolet of AJ Foyt Enterprises, finishing 4th P4 for people that may not know, to collect his first top 5 finish this season. So, fellas, a lot to talk about, a lot to digest, especially on Sunday. But we'll get to that here momentarily. But first, let's talk about Saturday's race a little bit, and I'll give the floor to either one of you first.
Saturday's race was action-packed. You had you had Ferrucci up there. He was contending for the lead for a little while, and but Pato, I didn't think Pato was gonna come out and do too well this weekend. I know he's semi good on oval tracks, but I didn't expect him to come out and win. That came out of nowhere. So congratulations to him on his 3rd win. No matter how he got it, he's got 3 wins. He's got more wins than most all the drivers except for one, and looked like he was going to take that momentum into Sunday, but it just didn't work out. He had some mechanical problems, but congratulations to Pato. He struggled being able to put a consistent ride together, not ride, but consistent drive, except for his other 2 wins that he had, where he got 2nd and then got moved to 1st, and then he did won another one. So this got to be great. It's got to be music to Zach Brown's ears, seeing his driver in victory lane, and hopefully he's probably hoping they can build off that and move on to next year. And maybe Pato can rub off on Rossi, and maybe Rossi can be able to finish out a race, because Rossi's up there every once in a while. You see him and he drives. He just never he's never able to finish it off though. But congratulations to Pato, and this coming race in about 2 weeks is going to be one doozy of a race.
Yes, I did and very much enjoy Saturday's race. It was an eventful race. I really liked how everything kind of just flowed. There was a few cautions, but it wasn't, crazy. So for me, I really like that. As far as the on-track passing, Connor Daly, Santino Ferrucci doing a great job making moves. Pato definitely made some risky moves to get to the front. Did a really good job. Josh, Pato doesn't want to rub too much off on Rossi because he won't be there next year. So hopefully, Rossi can find a ride. Nothing's been announced yet for that. My big thing with Saturday's race was Connor Daly. Derek, you mentioned it, the leader circles. I pulled it up. He went from 23rd to 19th. He jumped the 66, the 30, and the 41. So that's very, very impressive. Like you said, the top 22 get an extra $1 million in prize monies from the NTT IndyCar Series overall. So that's a big chunk of money for a team that doesn't have a great lineup of sponsorship. So an extra $1 million for the budget's always going to be helpful. So yeah, those are kind of my takeaways from Saturday's race for sure. Was exciting to mention all the on-track passes. One additional thing I will mention from Saturday's race is next year will be a really good tell of how AJ Foyt works as an organization, because as we've seen this weekend and as we really have seen all year, Stingray Rob's car, whether it's him as a driver or his car or the team, that car just does not have the speed. So with Malukas getting in there, we'll definitely see it on the ovals. But is that a 41 car problem? I know we've kind of touched on that before. Is that a 41 car problem? or unfortunately is it a Stingray Rob problem? And I guess I'm jumping ahead because we don't actually know what's happening with the driver lineup there. That's just my kind of take on that, my speculation. I think you made the comment too, Derek, that Santino needs a contract.
Great minds think alike, and I'm not leaving Josh out of this, but I was just thinking that if let's play. We'll give you the pen. We'll give you and Josh the pen here for a minute. Obviously, and we know that David Malukas is obviously in the fold next year for AJ Foyt Enterprises. Obviously, that's already been discussed. As the song says, signed, sealed, and delivered. If he's going to be in the 41 machine next year, hypothetically, we have no insight, so let's make that transparent now. If David Malukas is going to be in that 41 machine behind the wheel next year, are you or Josh, who are AJ Foyt right now with the pen, are you signing Santino Ferrucci to a contract? Just how impressive he has been, not only these last two races, but really the whole season.
Just off topic for a second. Thank you, Mike, for correcting me. Somehow you and Derek keep all this stuff in your brain. You guys could just figure out and remember who's going where. I'm just a spectator, and sometimes I forget who they are. But if I am AJ Foyt, I would resign. I'd resign Ferrucci. He's shown promise over the last couple of races, and I think he could be a valuable asset to keep going forward for AJ Foyt Racing.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. I'm looking at his stats right now from this season. He's got 1 pole, 2 top 5s, 10 top 10s, and he's led 21 laps. That's growth. We talked about it last week. I brought it up. Santino's from more of a NASCAR background, so he's still really trying to get used to driving these Indy cars. So if I'm AJ Foyt, I'm 100% signing Santino Ferrucci to the 14 or the 41, however they want to do musical chairs over there. So yeah, that's definitely what I would do.
Yeah, I'm in total agreement too, and I think Michael's absolutely spot on. You don't talk about growth within a driver. I don't think any driver this year has grown more in his skill level than Santino Ferrucci. So I think he has definitely earned a contract extension, if that's how that works, with AJ Foyt Enterprises for sure. If it's in the 14 or the 41 in 2025, I think you're both right there. Let's take a look at the results, and then we'll hear from the winner. It's number 1 there, Pato Award. Obviously, see him on top, and he was followed on podium by Will Power and Connor Daly. I thought it was interesting that Chevy showed the way there in race number 1 with 4 of the top 5 spots there being all bow ties. Following Connor Daly was the aforementioned Santino Ferrucci, Alex Palou, Linus Lundqvist, highest finishing rookie, Alexander Rossi, Scott McLaughlin, Christian Lundgaard, and Scott Dixon rounded out your top 10. Then it was, I thought, a great run for Christian Rasmussen in the number 20 machine there for Ed Carpenter. Usually you see Ed on the ovals, but I think he made a decision too when it comes to that circle points as well. And I think that's why Christian Rasmussen was put in the 20 car this past weekend. Then it was Kyle Kirkwood, Felix Rosenquist, Arenas VK, David Malukas, Jack Harvey, Nolan Siegel, Pietro Fittipaldi, Catherine Legg, and Graham Rahal round out your top 20. Then Marcus Armstrong, Colton Herta, Stingray Robb, Roman Grosjean, Kiffin Simpson, Joseph Newgarden, imagine that, and Marcus Ericsson rounded out the top 27 of the first race on Saturday. Speaking of that, let's get to hearing from the race winner on Saturday night. If people don't know what his real name is, it is actually Patricio, short for Pato Award.
Pato O'Ward absolutely sprayed here with confetti. Big cheers from the fans. I think it's safe to say that you're a pretty big fan of coming back to the Milwaukee Mile.
The fans, you guys have been amazing. Thank you for everything, really. I hope we put a fantastic show for all of you. It's great to be back in Milwaukee. My first race here, so can't complain. Super pumped for tomorrow, and let's see what we can do.
Well, I want to ask you one technical question. It looked like you were able to put that car anywhere on the track, particularly on the nefarious low line where they said there was no grip. You just had it dialed in.
No, I mean, the car was in a really good spot. I have to give it to the guys because they're the ones that allow me to do this. Give me the tools and I'll deliver. So we did it today. We executed, and tomorrow we're starting very close to what we started today. I think it's just one stop behind. So it'll be interesting. Let's see. It's a different time. It's not so late. The track temp's gonna be high up, and let's see what's in store.
All right, that's a smirk and a grin for Pato O'Ward, but a very happy one. Pato O'Ward absolutely sprayed here with confetti.
Yeah, so a great win there for Pato O'Ward, like I said, in the whole number 5 crew on Saturday, picking up their 3rd win of the 2024 season. And then on to Sunday, and what a contrast in races that we had on Sunday. I mean, right out of the box, the points leader struggled. And when I mean struggled, could not get his car started. At one point was they ran extra caution laps because he was the one that brought out the caution before the race even started, due to him not being able to fire his car up. They took his car back to the garage to work on it. He was able to get back out on the track. He ended up losing the points lead during the race at one particular point, and then as more cars, as a war of attrition on Sunday, it seemed like as more cars were finding themselves out of the race, Alex Palou was able to climb just enough up the leaderboard to get back the points lead and get a little bit control on it going into Nashville. But what a difference in contrast in races on between Saturday and Sunday, as you see right there. Scott McLaughlin in the number 3 Gallagher Team Penske was able to hold off a fellow Kiwi, for that matter, by just 0.4558 seconds in Scott Dixon for McLaughlin to collect his series high, tying 3rd victory of the season, being followed by Colton Herta. That was your podium. And then it was again Santino Ferrucci right there finishing 4th, and Marcus Ericsson, who finished dead last on Saturday, ends up finishing 5th there on Sunday. Big story coming out of there, like I said, has to do with the points championship, where Alex Palou, a roller coaster of a weekend, does still hold a 33-point lead over Will Power going into the season-ending Big Machine Music City Grand Prix presented by Gamebridge at the Nashville Superspeedway on September 15th. Palou did end up finishing 19th on Sunday, while Will Power, who again did have the points lead for just a slim margin of time, spun out, was able to recover. He finished 10th. So it could have been disastrous for both Palou and Power, but they were able to salvage what they could, and that's what it's going to come down to, is a two-car race for the points championship in Nashville. So a lot to talk about, a lot to discuss, I know, between all 3 of us. So I'm going to cut this a little bit short and let you two bring in your remarks on what you guys seen both on the Sunday doubleheader race.
Well, first of all, I mean, there was the weird Palou, his car not firing or just not working right at the beginning. And one question I'll pose to both of you after, and you can answer after I get done. If it was any other car besides Palou or maybe Power, would they have done those extra caution laps, giving Palou an extra chance or a little bit more time to get his car going so that he would not fall far behind. Not sure if that's what the answer to that would be, but we do have our first controversy with the hybrid engine. At one particular point they said it had to do with the hybrid engine. It wasn't anything that they had done or that they can control. Just the fact that Palou was able to get back out there and somehow salvage, be able to get his points back, because at one particular point, like Derek was saying, Will Power was winning the championship, and not winning, was leading the championship. But that team was able to get Palou back out there, and he said he's going to drive around. He wasn't going to cause anyone any problems. He knew he wasn't going to be able to catch back up and lead or get a podium, so he just figured, I'll drive around, I'll stay out of the leader's way, and I will do my best to try to salvage this. On to the race winner, Scott McLaughlin. Great race by him. Just being able to avoid any mishap, any of the cautions, not having any of the mechanical problems that some of the other drivers had, such as Saturday's winner Award had, or any crashes, that like Newgarden had. And I know we'll talk about probably Newgarden's comments, that both of you disagreed with his comments when he came out of the medical trailer. One analogy that I said, I was watching this race at a cookout on Sunday on my phone, and when it got down to the nitty gritty and towards the end, I looked up at the podium. I looked at the board and saw Scott Dixon. I was like, "Are you serious? Scott Dixon's going to do this again. He always does it somehow, some way. He just lulls people to sleep and gets up there, and he almost was. He was almost I think, given about 10 or 12 more laps, I think he would have been able to catch McLaughlin and take the lead and just lull everyone to sleep. And he just pops up and just has wins. It's just amazing to me. And I think Derek sent me something, would have been yesterday, about him, about Scott Dixon now being the leader in podium finishes. So congrats to Scott on getting another podium. But for the winner, fantastic race for Newgarden. McLaughlin. I get those two confused all the time, and I don't know why. But McLaughlin, just great win, great finish out to the weekend, and we'll see what he can do come Sunday, but the Sunday after that in Nashville.
Yes, what an exciting race too. Josh, to answer your question about the start, I believe the start procedure is as followed. IndyCar at the beginning of the event designated how many pace laps the pace car will do. And since there was an issue on track to where there was a caution state, they don't add extra pace laps. Basically, they just start the lap countdown to begin the race, even though like the green flag technically hasn't flown, which is a little confusing for people. But basically we start losing laps after those initial pace laps, whether it's 2, 3, 4, however many IndyCar designates to start the race weekend. But looking at the race, man, it was chaos. I feel like this is a big loss for Will Power. I mean, he spins on a restart where he's not really racing anyone. He's kind of in the middle of the pack. I'm not sure really what happened. It almost looks like, if you look on his onboard, that left rear tire, when he gets up to speed, there's a seam in the racetrack there, and it looks like he may have hit that. So it may have been a lining issue where it just lost it. And then the call by the pit the pit stand to bring him in to replace that front wing when they were going green, that may very well have cost them the championship. Speaking of championship, with Scott McLaughlin winning the race, the question was asked by Mike, our betting expert, what about the penalty we seen at the beginning of the year for Team Penske? And he brought that up. And if that penalty didn't happen with the push to pass situation, Scott McLaughlin would be second in points, 11 points behind Palou going into the championship race. So when you look at this, Penske could have lost the championship before this season really even got going. So that is amazing to think about. As far as this race, the chaos, Graham Rahal was very upset with Christian Rasmussen. It sounds like a lot of drivers may be upset with his on-track behavior. And another thing I want to talk about, I know this was in race 1 and we're talking about race 2 now, but there's got to be, IndyCar really needs to step in here with these cars that are a lap or 2 down is one thing, but when you're 15, 20 laps down, those cars need to really be forced to get out of the way for the leader. I can understand if you're a lap or 2 behind, cautions fall, especially on a short oval. You can get your laps back, but when you're 20, 18, even 9, 10, 12 laps down, like, just get out of the way. You're not doing yourselves any favors. And I am talking about Kiffin Simpson in the 4 car. Like, he held up about every race leader in race 1, which was just absolute chaos. But honestly, Palou throughout the year, just as consistent as he is really how he's going to end up winning this championship. Obviously, it's not as dominant as last year, but all he has to do realistically is go into Nashville and have a good top 7 finish, and he'll win this championship. So it's not all lost, but yeah, I think Will Power has to definitely go out and just lead every lap and lead every practice session and hope for the best when it comes to the point system.
Well, you bring up Alex Palou, and we know that success has not been in Alex's favor when it comes to ovals. He is still looking for that first oval win. Does that give Will Power, and again, going back to the analogy, you're saying there's a chance. Do you both think that gives Will Power, even though it may be a slim chance of 33 points, I think, but with, like, again, the success or lack thereof that Alex Palou has had on ovals, and obviously Nashville Speedway being an oval, what are your guys' thoughts on Will Power's chances of maybe pulling this off and not only winning the race on Sunday, next Sunday, but stealing the points championship right out of the grasp of Alex Palou?
It's a very slim chance, because even though Palou's not known, or is still looking for his first victory at an oval, he's still consistent. I mean, I think you said he finished in 10th this past Sunday, and he was down at least 5 or 6, maybe even more laps to begin with, and he was still able to come back and get a 10th place win. So, in my opinion, it's a very slim chance. It would probably take Palou finishing 22nd or lower, probably, and Will Power would have to probably podium to be able to pull it away. And I just don't think that Palou's going to end up being that low. He's not. I don't think he's going to take any chances this coming weekend. I think he's just going to, like he did on Sunday, ride around, finish in the top 10, and take his Astro Cup and go home.
So yeah, sorry. All right, sorry. I'm over here crunching numbers. So if Willpower wins the pole, leads every single lap, and win the race, he'd get 54 points. He has to that he's 33 points behind. So that would give him a 21-point lead. So that puts, if Palou leads 0 laps, doesn't win the pole, obviously, he would need to finish 9th or better to win the championship. So, I mean, yeah, there's a possibility, but, if Power does somehow go out and dominate every single lap, he's still hoping that, Chip Ganassi's number 10 car can't just put together, we've seen it this weekend. I mean, anything can happen, which is actually what's brought up a lot of this talk. But, I mean, if Power loses this championship by 3 or 4 points, you can go back to the 10-point penalty at St. Pete. You can go back to spinning at spinning at race 2 at Gateway. You'll start nitpicking every little aspect of this season that Willpower, where could he have made 2 or 3 points up? So for me, there's a chance, but I mean, a lot of things have to go Willpower's way, and Palou he's consistent. That's the big thing about Palou. It's been his entire career in IndyCar. He is consistent week in and week out. He doesn't have very many DNFs in his career. He always finishes races. So, and the races he struggles, somehow he manages to find a way to, as long as he doesn't go multiple laps down like race 2, and he makes very minimal mistakes. I think the biggest mistake he made this year was spinning out on his own at Iowa. So, I mean, the guy doesn't make mistakes very often. The team doesn't make mistakes very often. So, yeah, it's an uphill battle for Power, but there is a chance.
Yeah, definitely it's going to make next Sunday's race, obviously, must watch TV for sure, and throwing in a little bit of drama with that as well. Taking a look at race 2 results from Sunday's race, as you see, Scott McLaughlin, Scott Dixon, Colton Herta was your podium, followed by, again, great finish there by Santino Ferrucci. What a way to make up for Saturday night's misfortune there for Marcus Ericsson, finishing 5th. And then it was Alexander Rossi, Rinus VeeKay, Kyle Kirkwood, which, by the way, congratulations to Kyle Kirkwood for his 50th NTT IndyCar start over the weekend. Roman Grosjean, and then right there, Willpower finishing in the top 10. Then it was Felix Rosenqvist. Also, congratulations to Christian Lundgaard for completing his 50th start in the NTT IndyCar Series as well on Sunday. Kiffin Simpson, your highest finishing rookie. Jack Harvey, Catherine Legg. So what a bounce back for Dale Coyne on Sunday. Christian Rasmussen, disappointment for Connor Daly right there in 17th. Stingray Robb, Alex Palou, your points leader, finishing 19th. So is that something to foresee coming in a few weeks in Nashville? That remains to be seen. Linus Lundqvist, who might be, rumor could be out of a ride next year, as Chip Ganassi may dwindle his stable down to just 4 cars. Pietro Fittipaldi, David Malukas, Graham Rahal. Potter Award, what a disappointment from the highs on Saturday. Nolan Siegel, Marcus Armstrong, and again, obviously everybody knows who my race pick was, because you see him down there flirting with the bottom in Joseph Newgarden. So before we look at the point standings, let's hear from the race winner on Sunday, the aforementioned Scott McLaughlin.
It is a jubilant Scott McLaughlin here in Victory Circle, who I went around, and I think you actually went around and high-fived about half the fans that came down here. Obviously, I could tell just the relief of the weekend. Heck of a run.
I've had a blast here this weekend. Milwaukee's turned it on. I can't wait to get out the back and have a beer in the beer stands and have a bit of fun. So appreciate all you guys. The Gallagher Chevy was unreal, and Yeah, just roll on Nashville, but yeah, that was a blast, man. That was probably the most fun IndyCar race I've had ever in my career.
It's interesting because what happened yesterday in a hiccup kind of helped you today because you had, if I'm not mistaken, one extra fresh set of tires, and that grip helped you out. Then, of course, you made that last stop. But if you could recap for us just how good that Gallagher car felt on that fresh rub.
Oh, we worked really hard. You know, we were pretty bad yesterday, and I didn't do a good job either. I hardly slept last night because I was just so stressed about the bad job I did, and you know, I'm really proud of the tenacity that we showed as a group. Pit stops were unreal as per usual, and 33s were ripping, and just really proud of everyone. You know, we'll just keep working here. All we can do is win races. The Gallagher Chevy, it's my first time with Gallagher on the car, and I won a race, so I'm pumped with that, so really excited.
Car number 3, win number 3 on the season, the 7th in the IndyCar career so far for Scott McLaughlin. Congratulations. It is a jubilant Scott McLaughlin here in victory.
So obviously huge congratulations there to Scott McLaughlin, the winner of Sunday's second half of the Hy-Vee Milwaukee Mile 250s. Let's take a look at the point standings right now as they show it with just one race left to go. Nashville Superspeedway in 2 weeks. Alex Palou with 525 points, followed by Will Power with 492. Then it is the aforementioned Scott McLaughlin, Colton Herta, Scott Dixon, Pato Award, Kyle Kirkwood, Joseph Newgarden, Alexander Rossi, and Santino Ferrucci round out your top 5. Then it is Christian Lundgaard, Felix Rosenquist, Marcus Ericsson, Rinus VK, Marcus Armstrong, Lunas Lundquist, Roman Grosjean, Graham Rahal, Pietro Fittipaldi, and Stingray Robb round out your top 20. And then of the full-time 16 races this season, Kiffin Simpson rounds out your points there in 21st. All right, now the one thing that I teased earlier was our race picks, where things have gotten just a little bit tighter with just one race left to go. I see Josh over there shaking his head, but yes, things have gotten just a little bit tighter there. As you see, what a weekend he ends up catching Josh Roberts with just one race left to go. But again, as I said, you're saying there's a chance. There is a chance, an outside chance that we could have a 3-way tie for first. When this is all said and done, I just have to pick somebody that's going to finish better, obviously, than the other two, which has been a problem, a huge problem for me all season. But fellas, what a not only is the points championship coming down to the last race of the season, but our picks champion for 2024 is coming down to the last race of the season as well.
Yeah, I thought on Sunday I had a really good car with Power. He was doing really well, and then just somehow, some way, goofed it up. And congratulations to Michael on the sweep of this weekend. And it'll be interesting to see what happens in Nashville, and what is our tiebreaker going to be if we go to if we all end up with 6 wins. Don't know how that's going to work out.
Yeah, it was an interesting weekend. When I hit Scott early in the race weekend, I thought, okay, I think I've done pretty good here. And then he worried me on Saturday. I started falling like a rock, and then Ericsson took care of Newgarden. I'll probably have to send him a card or something in the mail. And Malukas really wasn't a factor at all in either race, which was a little surprising to me. And then we'll send Chip Ganassi just a bouquet of like edible arrangement fruit and a nice basket, because the 8 and 11 took care of Newgarden again on Sunday. Newgarden had a terrible weekend, and that wasn't a great weekend for him. He kind of showed his displeasure in the post medical visit. which I know we kind of talked about off air about. But yeah, I mean, good weekend. Nashville's going to be tricky. Concrete track. I don't know the last time Indy cars raced on a concrete track. Some resin left over from when NASCAR was there. So it's practice is going to be fun to watch to see who we pick. And yeah, I don't know. A three-way tie would be pretty interesting.
Yeah, Josh, I have not thought of what the tiebreaker would be after I pick the race winner or best finisher on for that race on Sunday, but I'll definitely get back to both of you when after I pick the correct driver. But speaking of good weekends, on the screen there to bring in our betting aficionado, and I can't even spell aficionado, so I'm going to use big words that I can't spell. But Mike is joining us as always. Mike, interesting races, I think, to say the least, both on Friday and Saturday. You got the different ends of the spectrum there between Saturday night and Sunday. Hopefully you were able to get through the malarkey. Yes, I know. I hate that word. To get through the muck there and maybe make some money this past weekend.
No, lost money this weekend. It was a rough weekend for betting. I had it all backwards, I suppose. I was all over McLaughlin in race 1. And thought that looked good, and then realized when he got stuck out on that caution and he was struggling with his car that wasn't going to happen. I did get to cash the Pato top 3, so that was a saving grace this weekend to put a little bit of money back in the account. And I was also, I like I told you guys, like, pretty light on race 1. Wanted to see how this was going to go down. Tire race, fuel race. We didn't really know. Could they pass? Could they not pass? I thought for a while they weren't going to be able to pass at all. But then race 2 ended up pretty much firing it all on a power. And I was watching the race, felt good. I hit pause on Peacock, and I went to grab a beer, and I came back, and power had spun and was pretty much stuck. I couldn't believe it. Like, it was the race started off so good. I have future championship bets on power at 9-1. I have future championship bets on McLaughlin at 7-1. And then to see Pelot's car just stopped at the beginning of the race, I was just looking good. I'm like, this is great. This couldn't be better. Newgarden goes out lap 1. I'm thinking Power's just going to take this in. I can't believe Power blew it. But that's the betting breaks, man. So I was pretty much invested totally in Power in the second race, but didn't lose too much because you could tell from race 1 it was going to be an unpredictable race, and it was going to be a tough race, and there was going to be crashes, and people were going to get hung out on cautions when drivers crashed at the end of the race. So just not having a lot of information and data, I always get sketchy when I don't know a lot about it. But happy to cash a couple future bets from the beginning of the year. Probably the first podcast we did this year, I put out Pelot under 3.5 wins, and thermal doesn't count. So that's going to cash. And then all I need is Dixon not to win in Nashville, which I might have to hedge that now that I'm looking at it. I had Dixon under 2.5 wins. He's sitting at 2 right now. And then obviously we cashed the McLaughlin bet a while ago on him winning over 1.5 races this year. So I'm still hopeful. Maybe, Pelot doesn't start his car again, and Power makes a push for this title. I think if the gambling gods, if they want to frown upon me, I think we're going to have a hypothetical title. I think McLaughlin is going to win this race in Nashville. And then I think if you saw on Twitter, I asked Eric Smith a question about what would be the points if the whole St. Pete, cheating scandal didn't happen. And it would be pretty much, if we pull it up on Twitter, I don't know, but it's tight. It's McLaughlin, Power, and Pelot would be right there, like 500 points each, all within 20 points of each other. And all three would have a legit shot at the title. So the whole Penske thing screwed up the entire season as far as I'm concerned now. But it'd be really nice to be going into this last race. But I haven't seen any odds on the championship. I was just looking around while you guys were talking there to see if nobody has posted odds on the championship there. So yeah, so he'd get 35. There you go. So it'd be 521, 510, 502. So McLaughlin actually be sitting in second, 11 points down. So thanks, Derek. So yeah, that'd be pretty cool if that were to be the actual case. But I really don't think McLaughlin gained anything from that race, particularly. But maybe Joseph did. But yeah, man. So losing weekend, a little bit back on paddle top 3, but was smart, didn't bet a lot. I was betting college football and other things. So yeah, so we'll see. We got one race left. Again, don't know anything about this track. You just bet the Penske cars as far as I'm concerned when it comes to, I don't know if anybody's tested here or not, but we'll have to look into that, watch the practice times, hear what they say. The concrete thing is interesting that Michael mentioned. That's going to be something we take a look at. Maybe that's good. Maybe that's not good. We'll have to find information and see if there's an angle to play and then bet numbers. But I'm going to be all over the Penske cars again, of course.
I don't know how much you caught before we brought you in, but I wonder how much Alex Palou not having a career victory on an oval. I know how laser focused Alex Palou can get, and how professional of a driver he is. But I still think in the back of your mind, if you're Alex Palou, there's got to be an ounce of doubt because you've never won on an oval. We all know what Will Power's track record is, no pun intended, on ovals. And, you see how much Alex Palou struggled on Sunday on the oval in Milwaukee. Is that a future of things to come at Nashville? Nobody knows. But I think there still has to be just a little bit of doubt that creeps into Alex Palou's mind, looking at Nashville and this being an oval, and obviously, like I said, him not having the best track record when it comes to oval races. Again, I could be completely wrong, and Alex Palou goes out and dominates this race. That's quite possible, but I just think there has to be an ounce of doubt that may start to creep into Alex Palou's mind if he starts to struggle Friday at practice or qualifying on Saturday. I think for Sunday, there's just that ounce of doubt that could leave the door open for Will Power not only to win the race, but to snatch this points championship right out of the grasp of Alex Palou.
Yeah, look, I have a rule. Don't bet Alex Palou on ovals. I mean, there's a reason for that. I don't bet Alex Palou on ovals because I don't want to lose money on Alex Palou. I don't touch him. If anything, I look to bet against him in matchups. So he's not a good oval driver. He has zero track record, zero history there. And Ganassi doesn't have the greatest of cars when it comes to ovals, unless it becomes, the only but I put there is if it's a fuel mileage race. And then that's where Dixon and Palou, are seemingly the best of it when it comes to saving tires and fuel mileage. But I don't even think Palou's that good at that on ovals. He's great at that at road courses and street circuits. So, I think it's going to be interesting. So, again, like if you're like me, I'd have, back to the betting, like I've got tickets. We got 7-1 and 9-1 tickets on Power and McLaughlin. So I'm hoping the betting odds, the championship odds come out, and I'm sure Palou's still going to be the big fave, but I don't think it's going to be minus 800 like he was going into the last race. I'm sure there'll be plenty of people talking about all the statistical probabilities and what they have to do with the points, and the sports books will figure all that out. I'll do my own math on my side, and if I can figure out a way to walk away with making money no matter who wins the title, like that's the goal of future bets. I mean, if you play with any future markets in the NFL or college football, the goal is to find a way at the end of the season to have nothing but upside. So my bet on McLaughlin actually is a little bit bigger than the bet on Power. So I don't know. We'll have to figure out. It all depends on how much you bet, if you want to let it ride or not let it ride, and what the odds come out. So I'll post some stuff on Twitter once we see odds and see, because I know a lot of people have bet Power at the Indy 500 at 9-1 when Nick Giffen suggested it, as did I. So a lot of people have those tickets in their hands, and I just got to figure out, all right, how do how do we hedge that a little bit? Maybe just bet enough money to cover the bet, and then everything. If power wins, you win all the money. If Palou wins, you break even. That's kind of probably the best, smartest way to do it. Or if it's just $10 or $20 and you just want to see if you can win 180 and roll with power, then I feel pretty good about rolling with power for everything we just talked about with the ovals with Palou. So we'll see what happens. We'll see what the betting odds are, and one more chance to bet some money. And I'm looking forward to betting these IndyCar futures again next year. I'm hoping I sweep the season win total bets. Obviously, as long as Dixon doesn't win, I'm going to go 3-0 there. And that's going to be a nice big chunk of change coming my way. So I'm going to be real excited about that, and maybe kind of bet into those a little bit more come next year, because there are some easy ones. I think Graham Rahal was at 1 win, like stuff like that. Like that would have been. I can't believe I didn't bet the crap out of that. But there's going to be plenty of numbers, and maybe we'll get more futures next year. So I'm already excited about betting next year. So let's get through this year and we'll go from there.
Yeah, definitely a lot of intrigue and a lot of things to look forward to in the betting world. 2 Sundays from now in Nashville. Josh, Michael, any other questions you have before we let Mike go? I know he's going to have a lot to break down and go through here as IndyCar making its first trip to the Nashville Speedway. A lot of unknowns as we've uncovered here this evening. But any of you two have anything else to add?
Mike, just to let you know, the last time at Nashville, the last time they ran on this Nashville Super Speedway was in 2008, and Scott Dixon won that race, along with 2007 and 2006. So the last 3 years they ran at that Speedway, Super. But I agree with you. I think the Power McLaughlin and Joseph, they have to be the favorite.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. Yeah, hopefully Dixon doesn't mess me up here, but I might have a little bet on Dixon. He'll probably be, I don't know, he might be single digits, but we'll see if we even get odds. It took forever to get the Milwaukee odds because the books don't know, but we'll see what they post, and then we'll try to figure out find a clever way to make some money.
Mike, good stuff as always. Make sure you're following him on Twitter because he's going to be busy here the next couple weeks with IndyCar finishing up, and like I said, college football kicking off, and then NFL getting jump started on Thursday. So, Mike, as always, love having you here with us. Look forward to your segments on Tuesday nights, and we'll definitely miss you here when IndyCar shuts down for the year. But I know you'll be putting out a lot of things for pro and college football over there on Twitter as well.
All right, guys, have a good night.
All right, good stuff there. Make sure, again, you check Mike over there on Twitter or X, depending on what generation you are, because the information he puts out is obviously second to none. Before we get into any other news and notes that I may have missed, I know Michael does a great job with that, as does Josh. We do have a couple bills that we do need to pay before we do get out of here. As always, huge thank you, as always, to the following 2 sponsors that are proud sponsors of the Push to Pass podcast. First and foremost, Always Ready 1776 for all your patriotic apparel, headwear, and more, and needs, and more rather. Go check out Always Ready 1776. You can find them on the web at alwaysready1776.com. And if you use the promo code that you see down there, or not down there, but towards the top middle of your screen there, Push to Pass, you can get 10% off of your order. Huge thank you to Always Ready 1776. And then also huge thank you to Gettum Associates for all of your home design, build, and remodeling needs. It's Gettum Associates, and you can find them on the web at gettum.com. And then down there at the bottom right there, use the promo code Push to Pass. You will get $250 off any design service. Huge thank you both to Always Ready 1776 and Gettum Associates for being proud sponsors of the Push to Pass podcast. Michael, Josh, we've gotten to almost the end of the show. Anything else that I may have missed during the week that either one of you two want to cover? I do need to step away for just a second.
Nothing that I saw that you missed. I know a discussion that we had, and I wanted to bring it on to air about Joseph Newgarden's his antics that he has been known to have coming out of the medical tent or the medical trailer at different races where he has crashed. You and Michael, you and Derek were both appalled by his antics and his answering of the question, I guess, of his tone of how he treated the reporter. I think that Joe Rogan, if you know who he is, he's got a very popular podcast now, but when he first started out, he started out in jiu-jitsu, and that's how he got into mixed martial arts, and he became the commentator and the in-cage interviewer for the UFC. And he has vowed never to interview a fighter right after they get TKO'd or they get choked out, because at that particular point their adrenaline's still going, they're fresh out of it, and they don't really know what they're saying. So I think that going forward, no reporter should ask any question of any driver coming out of the medical trailer. I think it's the wound is still too fresh, and I think it doesn't convey, in my opinion, the true feelings of the driver. I think if the driver were able to go back to either their pits or their trailer, recoup for a second, take a deep breath, and maybe be talked down a little bit by their handlers or their teammates, that they would not be as rude as Newgarden came off over this past weekend. And I'd like to hear your guys' thoughts on that idea. I don't think that any reporter should go up to a driver freshly out of the medical trailer.
So I will disagree with you, and here's why. Because they can kindly decline the interview. They can say, hey, I'm not ready to talk about it or anything like that. So they can decline the interview, or they could have their PR person step in and say, hey, Joseph's okay. He wants to kind of, debrief with the team, and then maybe, later on you can come back and he can have a more clearer mind. But when you're approached by someone, you ask, if they want to, talk, and they say yes, and then you ask a question and they belittle you like he did. He knows exactly what happened. I'm sure he's seen a replay in medical. If not, his PR person showed him. Someone's showing him what happened, and he knows exactly what happened. He could have said, hey, it's a racing deal, or hey, someone just didn't get the message, and but with his and that's why people don't like Joseph. He comes off as arrogant, cocky, condescending at times. So honestly, that's one of the main reasons that I'm not the biggest fan of Joseph. He just seems like someone that doesn't care about markability. And I'm shocked about that, because he does drive for Penske, but at the same time, if he drove for, say, a Juncos Hollinger where sponsorship was a big thing, maybe he wouldn't act the way he does at times. So I guess for me, that's where I see it, as like a marketing thing. It's not a good look when you're approached by someone, whether it's, NBC, whether it's, one of us, whether it's, another media affiliate, and you ask a question, he could just say, I'm not going to talk about that right now. He could just move on. Like he doesn't need to come off the way he did. And that's from a marketing thing. That's from just a pure respect situation. Like he could have just said, hey, I'm not talking about that right now. We just got crashed. I'm okay. I'm gonna look at the situation and see what happened. But to come off as the way he did, it's just disrespectful.
Yeah, I'm going to agree with Michael on this one. I thought Joseph took the absolute wrong approach to this. His answer, obviously, in our group text, I made the message that we all know who he was talking about. So why make the statement? Everybody knows who you were talking about, even though you didn't directly say that driver's name. We all know who you were talking about. So I think he could have took the high ground as a professional driver, and maybe that's something Joseph hasn't learned. Maybe he's still maturing. I don't know. I know it's a maturation process, and I know that's what you use when it comes to pro football and quarterbacks and such. But I just thought that was a very unprofessional answer. And I kind of equate that to, and Josh, maybe this will make more sense. How many times do you see at halftime the sideline reporter going over to the football coach, maybe the coach that's winning at halftime, or the coach that's losing at halftime, and he doesn't. The losing coach, at least I have not seen. Now this could have happened. I'm not saying it didn't, but I have not seen it to my recollection lately that the coach that's losing at halftime, or they may be getting this tail kicked at halftime, doesn't give off a ignorant answer to that sideline reporter. So Joseph probably should have took the high ground there, and I'm sure if he had to do it all over again, I think he would completely change his answer. But yeah, I thought that was pretty unprofessional, and I agree with Michael that Joseph could have came out with something to the effect of I'm not going to comment on that, or I'll speak on that later, or something like that. But just to give the ignorant answer, I guess is probably the best word for it. I thought was very unprofessional of Joseph, and I did lose a little respect for Joseph Newgarden and that answer that he gave there, fresh out of the medical care center. Again, he could have took the high road and just said, "Hey, I'm not commenting on it," or we can discuss this at a later date. But that's just my opinion.
I'm going to disagree. I just don't think that they should. I don't think they should put a microphone in their face right as they come out. And Joseph Newgarden is a two-time Indy 500 winner. He is marketable beyond belief. He is an American. He is an American that is doing good in an American sport. So, and no one ever has a problem when Tony Stewart comes out and berates the media. I'm looking for a driver that has an edge. And when I say it has an edge, I'm somebody that's real, somebody that's not going to follow the corporate line, that's not going to give the answer that the corporate America wants. And I think that Joseph brings a breath of fresh air to the series, because it's too tame. When in NASCAR's heyday, you had Dale Earnhardt going after people. You had Jeff Gordon standing up to him. You had Dale Jarrett that had some fire to him. I mean, Bill Elliott, he had fire, but he had a weird kind of fire. But sometimes I think these drivers are too passive, in my opinion. Nobody wants to say too much about other drivers, and I think Joseph's not like that. I think he's more outspoken. Could he have been a little bit more courteous to the young lady that was interviewing him? Sure, but you stuck a microphone in a man's face that just crashed out on the second day in a row, and he didn't feel like he felt like it was somebody else's fault of what happened. So you can't get mad when you stick a microphone in someone's face that just crashed for the second day in a row, and you got a brash answer.
I look at it as, then just don't do the interview. If you're that upset,
I agree with that, absolutely. But I just think that Joseph could have handled that a little better. I would love to see IndyCar drivers have that edge on on them, like you were just talking about. You think of, in NASCAR, rather, you got Kyle Busch and drivers like that have a little bit of edge, and I agree with that. I just think that could have been. I think that situation could have been handled. Looking back on it again, and we can Monday morning quarterback this all we want, because we're not Joseph Newgarden. We've never been in that position. Little better. That's all I'm saying.
Michael, my only question would be: are they contractually obligated to do to do interviews afterwards?
No, they're not contractually obligated. They walk out, and because I've been there, Detroit last year, I seen it personally. They do not have the obligation to talk to any media when they come out of the care center. They can refuse all of it and walk away and come back later if they want, but there's no obligation there that says, hey, TV is going to throw a microphone in your face. You have to answer questions. He could have simply, you say we want him to be more outspoken. Well, then call out the driver that just crashed you. Call him out. Don't beat around the bush. I'm not going to answer that question. When we know who you're talking about. We heard the radio transmission, and see, that's the big thing. And that's what's different about IndyCar and NASCAR and even Formula One. We can hear that radio in almost real time. You don't hear necessarily what the coach is saying to a quarterback and things like that. In racing, you hear what is being transmitted from crew chief to spotter to driver. You hear all of that. And there's been a lot of talks, and you brought NASCAR up. There's been a lot of talks lately about should this be limited on who can hear it because of situations like this that have come up where, in the past in NASCAR situations, things that, most recently with Austin Dillon's accident when he crashed two cars to win the race, his spotter was actually suspended for one race because he was instructing Austin Dillon to crash someone. So there's these fine lines where the fans want this information. We want to hear what the drivers are saying. We want to hear what the spotters are saying. We want to hear what strategies, being played out, what kind of code words are being said and things like that. But then when something like this happens, we're like, oh, and see, I'm almost talking myself out of being, mad at Joseph. But at the same time, and I talked about markability, and so did you. Yes, he is a two-time Indy 500 champion, but there are sponsors that are going to look at certain situations like this where he's like making these rude comments or things and be like, yeah, maybe not so much. Maybe we don't want to put all our money behind him. There's 26 other cars out there, and he has two other teammates. So while maybe we could sponsor Power or McLaughlin, so. Those little itty bitty things in a sport that right now is trying to come up and build. I do think Joseph is a villain in IndyCar. I really do. I think he's got that edge that you're talking about. He kind of has that brash Tony Stewart kind, like he says what he does, and it's fine. But then he can't come back in 2 weeks when we get to Nashville and be like, I don't like the criticism I've seen online, things like that. When you play the villain, you better be expected to hear boos, and you just take it. I mean, Kyle Busch is a prime example of someone who's taken it for years, where he gets booed, no one likes him, things like that. Tony Stewart was the same way. He got booed for some of the comments he made, but at the same time, most of those situations were in different circumstances than coming out of the infield care center. I do understand your point on that. Maybe you shouldn't throw a microphone in someone's face and expect to, have a cordial person. But at the same time, decline the comment or decline the interview, or just say, hey, yeah, I'm fine, got crashed, and I'm okay. And let the fan – and see, that's, I think, the origination of the post infield care center, medical center kind of interviews. Like, hey, people at home want to make sure that the drivers are okay. Like, this is a dangerous sport. So I think that's the origination of where that come from. Like, because we see driver, okay, they got out of the car and things like that. They go in, they broke a thumb, Rossi situation, things like that. So I think there has to be that line, and where, you know, we have the interview, and if the driver doesn't want to, you know, he could have what he said is the problem, or the way he said it was the problem, not what he said. It is the way he come across as arrogant or condescending or just rude. If he'd have just said, hey, you know, like, we'll have to look at the video and kind of go from there. I don't really know. All I know is realistically at that time, if he hadn't seen a replay of the incident, all he knows is that the race was going green and then he crashed. Like, that's all he knows. Someone hit him from behind. He at that time, unless his spotter or crew chief said something like, hey, it was the 8 that got into the 11 that got into you, he has no idea who it was or anything like that. And this brings up a whole nother topic of why we're calling off restarts. I think IndyCar has this problem where we have to have these cars bunched up, and it comes back to where we talked about at Iowa, the situation in Iowa. If these guys are laying back or they're not getting in line correctly, then penalize them. Don't penalize the leader or penalize 3rd, 4th, 6th place. Marcus Armstrong did nothing wrong, and it was junk before the race even started. Newgarden, junk before the race even got going. Like, penalize the people that are causing the issue. Park them for a lap. Bring them down, bring them down pit road, make them do a drive-through, instead of penalizing the people up front that are continuously getting crashed and things like that. This could all be solved by telling drivers to pack it up or start penalizing them. And if it's a continuous person that keeps doing it, then maybe that's a bigger race penalty, things like that kind of needs to be addressed. I know I kind of got off on a tangent there.
Oh, no problem. I got off on a tangent.
Josh, I'll give you the last word.
No problem, Mike. I mean, get off on a tangent. I love discussion, out of the ordinary. But and you're correct. I mean, like you said, the original intent of a driver being interviewed right after they got out of medical tent / trailer was to make sure they're okay. And maybe the reporter should just stick to, hey, are you okay? Anything broke? You good? Okay, we'll talk to you later. Go on. The only reason I had asked if they were contractually obligated, it's like football players are contractually obligated to talk to reporters. So now that I know that he's not contractually obligated, I mean, it could have looked if he accepted the interview and then acted like that, then there is a problem. I was under the impression that he was contractually obligated to talk to them, and that if they would have rolled the cameras and he would have just walked right by them, how would that have looked? I don't know, but I am just not a fan of the talking to a driver right after they get out of the medical trailer, because it's just the adrenaline's still flowing. You just crashed, and you may have seen 1 or 2 replays of what happened, but you may not know the whole story till later on. So, but I mean, I'm always gonna root for Newgarden because he says how he feels, I guess, and I like that. But I mean, we can agree to disagree, or we can agree. You've put some facts in that I didn't know, so I thought they were contractually obligated, but maybe next time he'll just decline the interview and talk to him later.
Fellas, what a great discussion to bring the show to a close. Definitely that'll be a topic that we pick back up on. I know we'll do a wrap-up show there after Nashville. Maybe that's one of the topics that we can discuss a little more. But a great show as always. Huge thank you to Mike for joining us for the betting segment, as he always does. Also, huge thank you to everyone out there on YouTube and X or Twitter that was watching us live as well. We got up to about 40 of you. And then as always, a huge thank you to both Josh and Michael as they take time out of their busy schedules here on a daily basis to join us to talk IndyCar, something that we all three of us absolutely love to do. So we will be back obviously in 1 week's time to preview the last race already, the last race of the 2024 NTT IndyCar Series at Nashville, the Big Machine Music City Grand Prix from the Nashville Speedway in Lebanon, Tennessee, not downtown Nashville, but Lebanon, Tennessee. So we will talk, analyze, preview, and discuss that in 1 week's time. So like I said, for myself, Josh, Michael, and everyone else here at the Push to Pass podcast, we say so long. And again, we will speak again here in 1 week's time. So until then, so long, everybody.
And the championship leader is stopped on the pace laps.
I think it's going to be about 20 points separating. Now it's 18. It's updated in real time, James. 16 points separates Palou from Will Power.
We've just got word we are 1 to go at the line. Palou's about to go a lot of laps down.
Keep an eye on Power. Red, white, and black Verizon car, and there is no start.
Oh,
big
crash!
Power got through. Power got through.
Okay, go for it.
Joseph Newgarden out from pole position.
Did someone go from behind? Keep an eye on that number 8 car and Marcus Armstrong. The two Ganassis came together and got into Newgarden. Will Power is 8 points back as they run, starting from second. Lundquist, Rossi, Award. Let's go again from Milwaukee. And Rossi taking a look right down there on Lundquist. Can he get him through 2?
3 wide behind them, and same old story. Connor Daly living up there in Schechterville, USA, in that third lane early.
His teammate Roman Grosjean side by side with Santino Ferrucci there. Pato Award down low.
Power definitely has the pace advantage as he goes by now.
David Malukas is slowing. Mechanical issue. Time to go again for Milwaukee. That's Alexander Rossi in the papaya white and black car behind. Third is Scott McLaughlin. Don't forget about Pato Award on the charge at 4th.
Just looking at that left front wing here for Pato Award as we ride on board thanks to Aero. Doesn't look like there's any damage. Maybe just a little bit more vibration with the left front end fence as Santino Ferrucci, I think, there just did another big slide job going into turn 3.
Snookered Pato by using Kevin Simpson as a pick. Fired it in there. We've seen that move a couple times now out of Santino over the last day and a half. And he is still hanging it up top.
Under caution now at the Milwaukee Mile, and the leaders are coming in. Will Power back in play for a championship, but Scott McLaughlin, that blue Gallagher car, is going to hit his marks first.
Will Power is in as well. They'll change 4 tires and just a quick fill of fuel. A little bit late on, it looked like maybe the back tires, but still a 6.6 second stop for Power.
And Scott McLaughlin jumped his teammate Will Power.
The reason why we're under caution, big old snap. Tank slapper off of turn 2.
Alexander Rossi controls the field. He gets a good jump. Remember, there's still lap traffic to deal with, so Dixon is going to have to get by in that orange and blue car, trying to get by there for second in the race, but he's not second in line.
The second in line was Connor Daly, using the Connor Daly line up top to get around the lap car of Catherine Legg.
Oh, here comes Santino Ferrucci again. 3 wide, a crash. Graham Rahal.
Hard into the wall for Rahal. Spun all the way around 360 degrees.
This got absolutely drilled.
As Graham shares his very strong opinion on the matter.
Let's go again from the Milwaukee Mile, and Will Power is around.
Right,
He
go,
was
go,
in
go,
play
go.
to
You gotta
take
keep
the
it running. Keep it
championship
running.
lead.
Go, 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 go.
And he's made contact, but he may not be out.
He got it refired. That's huge.
Unbelievable.
What happens here? He just loses it on his own. mid-corner, accelerating there for the restart.
They've only got one set left. They probably only had one more stop to make. So they're going to put a set of used Firestone tires on here.
They have front wing damage, so he is going to come down. But I believe we're going green next time by.
I don't know if I like that call. If in fact it's going to go green, that's going to put Power deep into the clutches.
And the start is not going to happen this time.
Don't worry.
The order was not correct.
Will Power just
Dodged a
gets
huge
super
bullet.
lucky, but he's going to go a lap down here.
Go, go, go.
Seemed like it was thumbs up. I'm surprised that they made the replacement here.
And now he's very out of position,
Go, green,
but the
green,
green
green,
flag's
green, green.
waving.
Alexander Rossi takes them back to green. Scott Dixon is going to get by Connor Daly. Many laps down. That blue car is Scott McLaughlin. He is third in the race, but has some more traffic to deal with.
Look at Ferrucci squeezing too high there as Christian Rasmussen will get a penalty. Look at Rinus VK, his teammate, up the inside of Kiffin Simpson.
For that last caution, Christian Rasmussen is going to be penalized, a drive-through, and Will Power is now in recovery mode.
Well, this three-pit crew has been on it all day long. This pit stop's going to take them all the way down to the end with 52 laps to go. It's going to be 4 tires, Shell fuel. We'll see what they're made of, and he is down the way.
Colton Herta shut down the inside line, but it's going to cost him. McLaughlin with the run up the inside. He'll have the point.
Side by side. How close do you want it? They almost touch. McLaughlin to the front of Milwaukee, and Herta fights right back on the outside. Herta regains the lead.
In the draft, he pulls out.
Here comes
Look at
McLaughlin
Will. He's there. He's got a wing
with
on
the
him.
Cambridge on board. That's our view looking left.
By himself.
McLaughlin is clear.
We got a yellow Stingray Rob in turn 2.
Take another look there at the Stingray Rob incident, just high into those marbles.
They're all coming for it.
Okay.
This is what we talked about with Scott McLaughlin, a late yellow. This could help him. He has an extra set. They're not stickers, but they put fresh tires and splash of fuel. He's down and away. Colton Herta amongst another taker, taking tires and fuel, and he is also down the way.
4.8 seconds for Alexander Rossi and Arrow McLaren.
Here we go again from Milwaukee, and McLaughlin has a good jump. Dixon has a run on Rossi, and he zooms to second. Dixon is on the charge. Herta going around the outside up to third.
I think that move from Dixon caught Rossi off guard, had to get out of the throttle, and now Herta on Dixon into 3, side by side. Does the Ferrucci? Can Dixon fight back on the outside? Both guys throttling it.
I thought Herta was going to move up a little higher. They almost touched down the front straightaway.
There's not much more historical than the Milwaukee Mile. In the IndyCar return, Scott McLaughlin has won again on an oval.
Up next, it's the Big Machine Music City Grand Prix, Sunday,